is up, everybody? It's your girl Jada Reeds here, back with another video, and today we have our February reading wrap up. But first, if this is your first time seeing my face or knowing of my existence, my name is Diamond. I go by Jada Reeds on this channel, and over here we like to do reading vlogs, book reviews, of course reading wrap-ups, and everything in between. If that is something that you might be interested in, or if you like my personality or things of that sort, I think you should consider subscribing. Okay, so yeah, let's get on into it. I'm gonna try to do these in the order in which I read them. I think, yeah, I'll do them in the order in which I read them. First of all, we have to mention that I also read Their Eyes Were Watching God First by Zora Neale Hurston the last couple of days in January. But I wanted to just mention that I did read that book for Black History Month. I just started reading it a little early and didn't think that I would finish it in January, as it only took me 2 days to read it. So yeah, so I wanted to add that one in first, but I talked about that one in my January reading wrap up because technically I read it in January. So now I want to go first into the Alice Walker, I think this is called, yeah, it's an author series that was started back in the 90s. And although it's not written by a Black woman, it is written on a Black woman, on Alice Walker, the amazing, the incomparable Alice Walker. And it was written by Donna, Haisty, Winchell. It's to serve as a introduction to Alice Walker and everything that she has accomplished up until 1992, because that's when this was published. It gives you extensive detail into her work and how her work directly derives from her life experiences, her lived experiences here in America as a Black woman. It talks about all things like her sexuality, pregnancy, family, just kinship as a whole in the United States, and what it's like to walk these states and these cities in Rome as a person who is judged by the color of their skin first, and then their genetic makeup and model second, which is a woman. And I think Donna did a good job, to be honest with you guys. I recommend this. If somebody who's never heard of Alice Walker, everyone's heard of her, but someone who's never read her or only read one sort of thing from her, this is kind of like ChatGPT. This is ChatGPT before steroids, right? So this would be like something sort of like if you wanted to write an essay on Alice Walker, or if you wanted to understand deeper the meaning of her work, a deeper meaning of the color purple, where those characters came from in the color purple, or if you wanted someone to help you analyze everyday use, you would grab something like this and it would be considered a source material for your work, your paper, your literary analysis. And I think Donna did a great job with this. This will stay on my shelf for forever, as it has been great to read. Honestly, it's almost as if you don't even have to read any of Alice Walker's had to say, because she did such a good job about it. But that's not the case. I do plan on reading more Alice Walker in the future. But yeah, I like this a lot and I highly recommend it. The next book I read, hold on, it's at the bottom, is 7 Days in June. No, it's not. But we can go ahead and talk about it. But I didn't read this second. I read something else. But we can go ahead and quickly talk about 7 Days in June. I did do a reading vlog on this, so I will be brief. This story is about Eva, Mercy, and Shane, forgot his last name. And it's a second chance romance by Tia Williams. Published in 2018. No, sorry. 2020. Published in 2020. And it's all in all a good story. It is a 3.5 star read for me, as I've stated numerous times throughout those vlogs and videos that I'm not really a big fan of romance. Not really. I used to like romance. I'm just in a different era of my life and I don't really like it that much. I do like the story. I do like the characters. For one, I just like the ambiance and the setting. I love, my favorite parts of this is when Tia is writing about the mother-daughter dynamic between Audrey and Eva. Audrey is Eva's daughter, and I also like the moments in the conversations between Eva and her friends, and the party settings and things of that nature, like the art scene, the literary scene in New York. Those are my favorite parts of this book, to be honest with you. I didn't really like, and this was a reread for me, I didn't really like the portrayal of the broken black man. I just didn't like that. I felt like she could have did a different type of job. I didn't really like that they binged drugs as teenagers. Those were some of the parts that were kind of cringe to me to read about. But I understand the plot and how it was needed for the plot, and that's the route that she chose to take. All in all, however, Tia Williams does have a way with words. Like, her way with words is really good. I was very entertained still, even though I have critical thoughts about the book. You can't take away from the fact that she's good at what she does at the end of the day. The 3.5 comes from the story in and of itself. It's not about the writing or anything like that. I think she's amazing, and I do still plan to read her new novel, A Love Song for Ricky Wilde, sometime maybe in the summer. But yeah, this is another one that I read for the month. And then let's go on to the masterpiece that is Beloved. I love this book. This book did two things. It definitely made me ponder on a lot that I kind of choose to not want to think about. It's a choice. It is a choice that Black Americans make to not think about the idea of slavery and how this whole country was built on the backs of our ancestors. It's a choice. And so I was confronted with that in reading this book, which is, of course, what Toni Morrison does. That's the whole point of her reading. She reads for everyone. She wrote for everyone, but it was mainly her, and this is her words, not in the exact words, but these are her words because I watched her documentary. She wrote for the Black person. She wrote on the Black experience purposefully, to shed light on what it was, the meaning of it, and how it is like generationally, like as a people, we're sort of generationally cursed, right? Of course, we come out of that. The excellence that is Toni Morrison, the excellence that is Alice Walker, the excellence, and I can name everybody, James Baldwin, Langston Hughes, excellent. I can name them, of course, and how excellent they were and how meaningful they were and how pivotal they were in the literary scene back in their time and for now, today in 2024 and beyond. But it was more of a crawl instead of a walk, if you know what I mean. Like, of course, they're celebrated and supported amongst their people, but there still was a struggle. And so even in talking about that, that's what Beloved does. Beloved ain't even about what I just said. Beloved is about Setna, an ex-slave, her daughter Denver, her daughter Beloved, who comes back to haunt her, and Paul D. And all the characters interwoven into that whole narrative that is a ghost story in and of itself. So I did a vlog on this if you want to know more thoughts about how I feel about it, but this book is a masterpiece. This book makes you want to it made me want to travel back in time and be a fly on the wall, because I can never say, oh, I want to go back in time and become a slave and experience what Setna experienced. Hell no. But I just want to go back and see for myself, because she was so vivid, though. It was such a vivid tale and portrayal of what it was like in those times. It's heartbreaking. It's still sort of a resilient story, although the ending leaves you to speculate that Setha never gained her full consciousness back as a woman, as a mother, but she's of course still alive. It's a lot. I talked at length about this in my Beloved vlog, so I'm not gonna do that now. I love this book a lot. If you have not read Beloved, I suggest you read it. If you read it once, you probably need to read it again. It's amazing. This book top read of the year. I'm naming it already, and it's just a February read. I loved it. It's amazing. I can't recommend it enough. It is a necessary read. And yeah, still thinking about it, as you can tell. After that, after Beloved, I call myself trying to read something a little bit more light, right? I didn't know what these two books had in store, but just know that Beloved changed the trajectory of my reading month for sure. It completely changed it. So I then went to read The Death of Vivic OG, which is a DNF, complete DNF. I made it to chapter 10, and I couldn't take it. I couldn't handle it. This is about Vivik OG and showing up on his parents' steps, wrapped in colorful clothing or colorful cloth, and he is passed away. He is deceased. He is dead. It also talks. So who's speaking in the novel is his mother, his cousin, and him. So there's just a dialogue between them in the novel up until where I stopped. But too early on in the novel, I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing with the Akwaeke Emezi. I guess what I've learned here, I've also tried to read Freshwater and couldn't make it through. Sometimes some Black authors are just not going to be for you. You know what I mean? And they are magnificent storytellers, but it's just too visceral for me in not so good of a way. It just was not for me. I thought that it was because I read Beloved and I was just feeling some type of way. But honestly, in hindsight, thinking about it, I just didn't like the book. I had to really sit and ponder and decide if I wanted to give 5 hours to this, and I had already given 1, and it's just like the chapters are really short. That's why I made it to chapter 10, and I'm just like, I just don't want to read it. The SA descriptions in here are for me too harsh. I did not like them. I just didn't like any of it. I don't know. I know it's to talk about the struggles of being an out gay person in Africa and how it's like you have a target on your back because it's almost like it's illegal to be gay there. But I don't know. I just didn't like the way that the book was going. I just didn't like it, so I had to let it go. So yeah, I tried. I spent some time with this and I did try, but I didn't make it. And then we have the book that is also coming into March with me. This is, like I said, in my books I'm going to read in my birthday month. Caste is not a DNF. It's just a continuation. And Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent, was published also in 2020 by Isabel Wilkerson. And it is basically denouncing the idea that racism or America is built on or structured under racism. And it's more so structured on a caste system relative to the caste system that is in India. And what she does is she first talks about the history of America. Then we talk about India. Then we talk about Germany. And as you should know why we talk about India and Germany. And then she goes into specific details about the early American South, especially the American South, as that's where all the lynchings were happening, the burnings, and everything in between. And then she goes into the 8 pillars of the caste system in America, which is where I stopped at. And that's what I will continue on and try to power my way through. Hopefully I finish it in March. I'm going to finish it in March, actually. It's not that long of a book. It's like 380 pages. And I'm on page 145 or something like that. But this book is also very tough. This is a very hard book. I commend anyone who made it through this book. I really do. I commend you, because it's not an easy read. If anything, it's an eye-opening read, and I talked about it. I went live and I called it a FaceTime call. We basically needed to talk, and I was just talking about how I was struggling to get through this book. It was really making me sick that I couldn't finish it, because I started feeling like my February reading was going down the drain. I just was getting so upset, that I'm not able to power through these books as they were meant for someone like me. Of course, to educate the entire world, but being Black, you feel seen and you feel special when you read from a Black person. You know what I mean? And so I was feeling down on myself because I couldn't finish it in time to be able to say that I finished this book in February. And I know it sounds silly, but that's really how I felt. But then I was just like, the validation that I got from telling y'all about how I felt about this book, I was like, okay, I'm so glad I'm not alone. I'm happy that we're all in this together. You guys totally understand where I'm coming from. That's what I needed. I needed my friends on the internet to let me know that I was gonna be okay, you know, because like I said, I don't have a lot of people in my daily life that I can talk to about books. It's just not a real thing. You know, for the longest time, people thought that I was lying about reading. For the longest time, when I would say, you know, because people lie. I get it, people lie. But when I would say, they were like, what do you do in your spare time? Like, I'm an interesting person, no doubt. But my hobbies tend to seem boring to people who don't do this. So when I would say I read, they would think that I was lying until maybe I invite someone over, or someone might call me on FaceTime and I'm sitting by my bookshelf and they're like, oh, you know, I thought you were lying about that. And I'm like, why the hell would I lie about this? Like, so that's in talking about Caste on that live, and in talking about Caste on the African American books and how they have different meanings video. The validation that I received in those comments, they really warmed my heart. You guys really need to understand. I am overjoyed and full of the fact that I have this many subscribers that tune into my videos and watch me and talk to me. Y'all just don't understand. Some of you probably do get it, but it makes me happy. So anyway, that's the thing with Caste, and hopefully I can give a better summary and continue to like talk about this book in my vlogs. And hopefully by the end of March, I'll be saying that I finished it. Then the next book that I read, which one did I finish first? Was it this one or this one? Because I read these at the same time. These next two books, I read them at the same time. I'm trying to think which one did I finish first. Okay, it was this one. So I also talked about in that live how I started back reading, and in that video I started back reading The Assassins Apprentice by Rob and Hobb. So I flew through this book, and it was clearly because I needed to. I really needed to. I needed something like this to help me kind of put things into perspective mentally. So it was such a joy, and I'm so glad I stuck with it. Literally, I stopped on chapter 6 in January, and when I picked it up, chapter 6 on down, I finished this book in 2 days. Okay, it was probably 2. After that video, the next day I finished this book, and so I loved it. So The Assassin's Apprentice is the first installment of the Farseer trilogy. This is about Fitz, and Fitz is a young boy. When he is first taken, his grandfather takes him away from his mom and takes him to the king because he is a descendant of the king. He's a bastard son. His dad's name is Chivalry, and we still don't actually get the story of how Chivalry and Fitch's mom, how they met or something like that, but he's taken away from her at 6 years old because his grandfather's like, I don't have money to be feeding you, and you are higher born, they should be able to take care of you. So he just takes him and leaves him there. And so he never meets his father. He's instead put under the wing of Borich. Borich is what we learn later. Borich, well, I'm not going to say because that's actually a spoiler. And remember, unless you watch a vlog of mine, I'm not going to spoil it. But anyway, Borich becomes his caretaker, by the way. And then he meets with his grandfather, the king, and the king decides that he actually wants him to also become an assassin for him. So he's learning to be an assassin, and he's also learning, what does Borich actually do? Borich is like, he takes care of the horses and stuff like that, and like he makes sure that he was actually the hand to Chivalry, but Chivalry ended up leaving, and I think we'll learn more about that story. I don't know if we're going to learn more about Chivalry in book 2 that I've already ordered, by the way. I will be reading that also in March, even though I didn't talk about it in the books I want to read in March because it's so long. Oh my God. Anyway, so where was I? So anyway, Borich is his partner in crime. Also, another thing that you learn is that on top of Fitch being or becoming an assassin by Chade. Chade is his teacher. He also can talk to or see through dogs. So he's a seer. I think that's what you call it. He's a seer, yeah. So you have two things in this world. You have it's so much to remember, but I think it's a seer anyway. So much to remember. What is it called that he does? He's able to see through animals, but mainly dogs, because he loves dogs, and he can kind of like talk through them, and he can see things that are going on through their eyes, and he can also do this other thing. It's just so much going on in here. I'm glad I don't have it at the top of my mind, because that would be a spoiler to you guys. But all in all, this was a really, really good read. I want to talk about the writing for a second. So when you go into a fantasy, a lot of things, especially when the fantasy is very good, the main thing to know, or the main thing that you sense or feel, or for me, the main thing that I sense and feel is like this impulsive. It's like compulsively readable. But this one wasn't at first. I don't know. I think it was because Robin Hobb paid such clear and concise attention to detail that you had to really ingest every word. And you had to slowly take your time, because she took her time. And I think that's the struggle that I was going through at the beginning, and why it was hard for me to get into it. But in hindsight, I'm grateful that she started out like that. And one of my favorite booktubers, Jess, over at Sunbeams Jess, she read these last year, and one of the main things she said was, you can tell that Robin Hobb was a parent. You could tell that she was a mother. The way that she wrote fits in all of his wonder, and all of the like new findings, and all the questions that he had, talking about his loneliness, the idea of a dog being the greatest companion a person could ever have, the feelings and emotions that he has for like incidents that happened between him and Chade. Like, I felt those things. Like, I don't know, it's just the way that she wrote it. The feelings for Borich, or not knowing his father, being made to feel like he wasn't good enough in the kingdom, just how his uncles treat him, the friendship between him and someone I won't talk about because that'll be a spoiler. This book is just so well done. It's very well done. I recommend it highly. I think that it is a great palate cleanser if you're reading something tough at the time, as that is what it served for me, and it served its purpose very well, and it's a great book. So I can't wait to read the next one. I think it's called Royal Assassin, or I forgot, but it's on the way. So Assassin's Quest, that's what it's called. And then we have, are we at the last book already? We are. We're at the last book of the month. We did another Morrison this month, and it was the Song of Solomon. Oh my goodness. This one was also very good. This says so the Song of Solomon won the Nobel Prize. Okay, so with this one, this follows making Milkman dead in the Dead family, and his relationship to his family, his relationship to his town, his relationship to his best friend Guitar, and his relationship with women, all of the things. Okay, so let's set the scene. All right, first of all, magnificent storytelling at its best once again. This book is so good. It's so engulfing. It's so vivid. I feel like I was there. I feel like I was living amongst this family. I feel like I was understanding Making Dead Senior, Milkman. I was understanding his mom. I was understanding his sister. I understood them. The dialogue in this novel is very wonderfully written. It's masterfully done. Toni did a great job of like taking someone, if let's say you've never experienced any type of conversation with someone Black, or you don't know the Black experience whatsoever. Reading this book, I think, will give you a great insight into what it is to be in a Black family. If you really want the truth and you really want to know, something like this will truly tell you that. And also something like A Raisin in the Sun. But see, that's a play. It's a play. This is a book. And so this one is more so, the main theme here is the idea that the Black man has no place. Everyone wants to take the Black man's life. Let's see when this was published. I think it was like 1981. Oh, sorry. This was published in, this is a 1981 edition or something like that, 8683 or something, but this was published in 1977. So during that time, you know, it's always been upheaval, you know, turmoil in the community, in the Black community. So that's not anything new, however, there's still also this idea of, you know, how the Black man just can't catch a break, right? There's always somebody trying to kill him. And that's also a play on words because, you know, the last name of the family in this book is Dead, right? So it's like making dead, milkman, making milkman dead. Like someone's always out to get me. And she does a good job of like starting and finishing. And also with this story, you're left to sort of find your own meaning at the end of the story, which I do like that. I like that a lot. She doesn't really make it quite clear for you what actually happens at the end, and I like that. But it follows Macon Dead from his birth to when he's 31 years old. It ends when he's 31 years old in this book, and you find out about why his name, where Milkman came from, why everyone calls him Milkman. And also an important thing to note is that his father is actually wealthy in this book. He's a landowner and he is a landlord, and he's not a nice person. He has a lot of issues within himself. He kind of has this sort of internalized self-hatred and this internalized racism and fear. It's also very much, his dad is rooted, the way that he acts is rooted in fear, which is a lot. That's how a lot of people operate, especially Black people. And so that's why he behaves the way that he does, and he feels that he needs to have money because money solves things, right? Money is the thing that makes everything okay. And that's kind of how Macon Dead Sr., that's how he operates in life. And so he has this son, and he wants his son to do the exact same things as him, except, you know, Milkman has other dreams and aspirations. He has other things that he wants to do with his life, and he feels like everybody is in control of him but him. And then also you have this best friend Guitar, and Guitar has a totally different lived experience where his father, Macon Sr., is Guitar and his parents' landlord, and he has experienced who Macon Dead Sr. is as a man, and he's just like not feeling him at all. But he's never treated Milkman differently. They always like vibe together and had a great experience as being friends, and they stayed close up until, you know, they grew up together, they grew up close. And there's also the tale that I love so much of the aunt, and her name is Pilot, and she is named after the man who killed or set up Jesus. I think that's who set up, he set Jesus up or killed Jesus. He was like a Roman emperor or something like that. He's the man who basically allowed Jesus to be killed. And that also is a symbolism in this story. Just the thing to know about Toni is she gonna give you that imagery, that symbolism, metaphor. She leaves the reader to have to really dig deeper and do some work also. And that is another thing that I really like about Toni Morrison. I bet she was a great teacher. I think she was a teacher at Howard. And of course she was an editor before she became a writer. She was always a writer, but you know, before she was published, she was an editor at Random House. So the avenues in which she takes as an author to still teach the reader something, and it's not like she doesn't beat your head down with a hammer like trying to instill in you, you know, the struggles of the Black man. Instead, she gives you a story, a beautifully told story, but it's up to you to understand what she's really saying. And that's something that I truly appreciate in her writing. It's in Beloved also. I really enjoyed this. I highly recommend this also. This was a great read. I'll definitely read this again. It's a staple. It's an essential. Okay, Toni Morrison is essential. So this is my fourth Morrison. I've read Sula. I've read The Bluest Sky. I read The Song of Solomon and Beloved. So I need to do Recitative. I need to do what else we have by her? We got Recitative. We have I have Tar Baby on my shelf. I don't have Recitative, but I have Tar Baby. I also need to do let me stop. Let me stop. Just know I need to do some more Toni Morrison reading, but I've read 4 so far and they've all been magnificent. So I think that's it. That is all of the books that I have read for the month of February. My February reading was tough, but it was very rewarding at the end of the day. And I'm absolutely loving the books that I've started reading for March. Today is March 2nd. And I'm almost done with my first book, and I'm really excited about it, talking about it. But yeah, let me know what you guys have read. Let me know what you think about any of these books. If you have read them, let's talk about it in the comment section. I want to know if you read any of these and what you felt. And I also want to know what you read in February if you don't already have a video up that I've watched or haven't watched already. So yeah, thank you guys once again so much for watching. Thank you for your love and support. And I'll see you guys in my next upload. Deuces.